Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaste friends. Team Param Vedanta warmly welcomes you to the 42nd session of DISHA. DISHA, the acronym, stands for Discovering Our Inner Strength and Happiness. It is an inward journey where we revisit the Bhagavad Gita and the Tattva Bodha to assimilate the wisdom contained in them. We will continue our study of chapter 9, and today Dr. Sanjay Banakal will help us understand verses 20 to 29. He will also touch upon the topic of Bhakti Yoga, the course of discipline as explained in the Tattva Bodha. Dr. Kiran will introduce the day's topic and also conduct the teaching quiz at the end of the session. Now, for our shloka of the day, Srimati Neeta will dwell upon what a guru means to a bhakta with the famous shloka, Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva. Neeta ma'am, please.
Hari Om. Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhushcha Cha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravanam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. You alone are my mother and you alone are my father. You alone are my relative and you alone are my friend. You only are knowledge and you only is my wealth. You alone is everything, my gods of gods. This prayer, the source of this prayer is the Skanda Purana, but has found its way in many other texts like Pandava Gita, Guru Stotram, Atha Brahma Stotram. It's a very simple prayer we place at the feet of the Lord or the Guru, the Lord with form or formless. It is an Ananya Shranagati mantra. We consider the Lord as the only pole or the Guru as the only pole we can rely on. Most of us have been on the spiritual path for some time. We recognize a few things. Next slide. The world is a cardboard chair. We cannot lean on it for peace, security, and happiness. In spite of the self-knowledge we are not able to establish in that knowledge and that truth. We have also recognized that the world and our mind continue to provocate us as the ego sense continues. Our mental tendencies continue to keep popping up. At this point, we recognize the need for the grace of God. Without that, we will not be able to cross the bhavasagar of samsara. The need to surrender comes up, Ananya Bhakti. One of the important requirements for spiritual progress is single-minded devotion to God. Ananya means no other, exclusive, undivided devotion. The word Eva in this prayer indicates that. All our relations are with God alone. Tameva Mata Chapita Tameva. You alone are my friend, and there is no other. So does that mean we drop our real parents, friends, relations? No, it just means that we see the God in them also. To elaborate why on this path of seeking liberation, we understand Aham Brahmasmi. I alone give existence to this world. We understand Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. In the binary format, one is independent. There is no second. Advaita. Jivo Brahmaiva na paraha. But yet we continue to feel helpless and cannot see this clearly. In Vyavahara, in the tertiary format of the Jiva Jagat Ishvara, we can't seem to drop this false ankara, which limits us to this body and makes us see the world as separate. It gives us a sense of incompleteness. Samatvam seems to be a far sight. These conditions around us necessitates dependence on the world or the Ishvara. But we found that depending on the world will give us only more grief and sorrow. So in this state of helplessness, we recognize the need to surrender to the Lord. He alone can cross us over. Tvameva mata cha pita tvameva, tvameva bandhu cha sakha tvameva, tvameva vidya dravanam tvameva, tvam eva sarvam mama deva deva. Hari Om.
Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyama Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parampara. Friends, we are learning the greatest secret ever. Sri Bhagwan, Lord Krishna said, Idam tu guhyatamam pravakshyami. I shall impart this greatest secret, gaining which you will be freed from this samsara, the life of fear, trouble, death, and rebirth. To whom it will be imparted? To Anasuya. That is, you don't need any major qualification. You don't have to be needed a genius, etc., etc. You need to have an open mind without any arrogance. It is said when Swami Chinmayaji went to Tapovan Maharaj and learned, he was asking many questions, unlike other students, who used to just sit and listen. These questions were not because of arrogance. It was because of his keen attitude to learn. This kind of open-mindedness is needed. And once he chose to spread this knowledge to all others, many in the Himalayas told, this is supposed to be a greatest secret. Then why are you revealing it? Then he told, don't worry. Even after revealing, it shall remain a secret to many. So what is that which we always wanted to know, the greatest thing? Is it some complicated puzzle? No, because it doesn't make any difference in the life. In Mundaka, the question was asked, Kasminnu Bhagavano Bhagavo Vignate. What is that? Knowing which everything becomes known. So in short, if we know that, then the ignorance is gone and we shall become knowledge. This knowledge is power, and this is the real strength. This is the real security which all our Shastras always tells. What is that greatest suffering which all of us have? It is not some pain or poverty or hunger. It is that we do not know who really we are. Once a mystic, Ibrahim, was going on a, from one village to another. There was a grand feast organized, and he wanted to, as usual, they attend these, and there, as is tradition, they ask which lineage you are and what is your wealth, strength, etc. And they kept on asking. So Ibrahim mused to himself, what a tragedy it would have been if I do not know really who I am. What is the benefit of knowing everything else, this, so many other knowledge, if we don't know this real secret? So this knowledge, that is Atato Brahma Jignasa, is the greatest secret which Krishna is revealing through the Gita and in 9th chapter also. Then this knowledge is imperishable. It is not like, it comes in subsequent editions. For example, in medicine, we have a standard textbook called Harrison's. Already some 15th to 20th edition has come, and what is written in previous edition, many are now outdated. Is this knowledge like this? No. You don't have Gita version 1, version 2, edition 3, etc. There is only one Gita. There is only one Upanishads. So this is an imperishable knowledge because this has come from the perceptor himself. So this should be very difficult? No. Krishna has already said, this is sukham, that is very, very comfortable. To whom? The pure one, that is the prepared one. He says subsequently in 15th chapter, that Mayanaga, Guhyatam Shastram Idam Muktam, Krutakristasya Bharata. So once we know this knowledge, there's nothing else to be known, and this is the real source of happiness. Then how to become pure or prepared? Bhakti is one of the ways. And as we have studied in Tattva Bodha, that is sadhana chaturse sampanna, viveka, vairagya, discrimination, dispassion, etc. And we know karma yoga removes the impurity or the imprinted vasanas, what we call our preconceived notions is removed. And upasana, it calms the mind. Then what is bhakti? Is it another yoga? No. Bhakti means devotion, doing a work or any sadhana with devotion and Lord in mind, and dedicating all the success we achieve throughout this journey to the Lord. This is bhakti. And at the end of it, we should gain humility. So any knowledge which does not give us humility is not a real knowledge. As Neeta beautifully said in the Guru prayer previously, that at the end we should dedicate whatever we have learned to the lotus feet of the Guru. That is the humility which we should gain. And bhakti is one of the most important preparation in this regard. So Lord Krishna says, what is that knowledge? This Ishvara Jnanam. This is the greatest knowledge which we need to learn. Then this bhakti, it went on to say 3 levels. One is Manda Bhakti, Madhyama Bhakti, and Uttama Bhakti. The Manda Bhakti, that is at level 1, is Saguna. That means Ekarupa. I worship only one. It is Krishna, Rama, etc. I'm a Shaivite, I'm a Vishnuite, I'm a Hindu, I'm a Muslim, etc. He worships only one form and all others he neglected. This is at a KG1 level. Then we move upon. We see Lord in many things. Just Arishna represents Ganapati. Just oval-shaped stone represents Shiva. And many things we see, even Ayudas, we worship as a Lord. This culminates in Vishwarupa, that is many Rupa. Ultimately, it is a formless and nirguna prayer, worship. This again can be divided into Sakaama, Nishkaama, and Jnana Bhakti. Sakaama means we pray to gain something. That is, we use Lord or God as a means. Whereas Nishkama is we use God as treat God as the ultimate goal of our prayer, of our sadhana, of our bhakti. And last level is Jnana Bhakti. Today in this class, we will learn in detail what is this Sakaama Bhakti, what is this Nishkaama Bhakti, how to move from one to another. So we have Dr. Sanjay Banakal, who is an anesthetist at Narayana Hospitals, Bangalore. He'll be talking about verse 20 to 29 and also Tattva Bodha Bhakti as a course of discipline. Dr. Sanjay Banakal.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Today we'll be talking about Bhakti, which is an important topic to be understood by every spiritual seeker. There are a lot of confusions regarding Bhakti in the spiritual field. So what exactly is Bhakti or devotion? Now this has been analyzed by Swami Paramarthananda in his lectures on Introduction to Vedanta. This is not a topic dealt in the Tattva Bodha text. What is devotion? Devotion is a love towards a higher principle. This love is a reverential one, and the higher principle could be a God, where we call it as Daiva Bhakti, towards the parents, Pitru Bhakti or Matru Bhakti, towards the teacher, Guru Bhakti, towards the country, Desha Bhakti, etc., or towards any leader. Now we shall look into this topic from 2 aspects. One as love in general and Bhakti as a course of discipline to achieve the spiritual goal, that is liberation or moksha. Generally, we love the objects that we want to achieve. So that is considered as a love towards the goal. While we are achieving our goals, we also go through the means and we also love the means. If we analyze the love towards our achieving anything or towards the means to achieve them, the love is more intense towards oneself. Now, all the love that happens is for ourselves. We don't love anybody for the sake of others. We love for ourselves. Hence, that is known as a self-love. Now, let us go into some more details of love. Anyway, we act in this world to achieve our goals of life. And these goals could be different at different times. As a student, I'm interested in completing my studies. That is my goal. Securing a job, getting married, possessing a house, business, etc. Now, achieving these goals gives me security and thus peace and happiness. Hence, we obviously love our goals. We also love the means which help us to achieve this goal. Now, if we look at this love, the intensity of the love towards means is of a lesser degree when compared to the intensity of love towards the goal. Why do we love the means? We love the means only as long as the goals are achieved. The moment the goals are achieved, we are no longer interested in the means. Hence, our love towards the means is not as intense as our love towards the goal. Whenever we love something, we love for ourselves because it gives us happiness. I am interested in my happiness. Hence, the scriptures point out that love towards myself is the most powerful and intense. This is called as the self-love. There can be no love which is more intense than self-love. So our love towards the means is intense, and love towards the goal is more intense, and love towards myself is the most intense. Now let us apply this means, goal, self-love, etc. towards God. Now here the love towards a God, we can consider it as bhakti. At a very basic level, I have a very selfish motive. Now what happens is, if we see majority of the people, they worship God to achieve certain materialistic things in life. That is the majority of the people. So I have a selfish motive. I think the God is a higher principle who can materialize my worldly benefits. So that is known as Sakaama Bhakti. Here I use God as a means. Obviously, a love towards the means is of a lower order. Hence, we can call it as Manda Bhakti, a lower order of Bhakti. The next level is I take God as the goal. Now, how do I take God as the goal? What is meant by God as the goal? Let us analyze it a little later. Now, some discriminative minority of people, they look upon the permanent liberation or moksha as their goal, and here God can be considered as the goal, the moksha. And this level of bhakti is known as a madhyama bhakti or a mediocre level. And we also call it as Nishkaama Bhakti. The next level of bhakti is considering God as myself. That is the Uttama Bhakti, the highest bhakti or Parama Bhakti. You can also call it as Advaita Bhakti. We can love any object or situation only when we know about it. We can't love an unknown object. Hence, to love God, we need to have some understanding of God. What is meant by God? Now again, understanding God depends upon my level of spiritual evolution. So at the basic level, I consider God as someone who protects me because he is at a higher level, a higher principle, and he protects me from distress. And in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna calls him as Artha Bhakta. So I look upon God as a savior. The next one would be to realize my materialistic desires. God is the one who's realizing my materialistic desires, and I call him as Artharthi Bhakta. So we have Artha and Artharthi Bhakta at a very basic level, wherein I look upon God to save me from distress and also to give me enjoyment, worldly benefits. Now, as I mentioned before, some minority of people or rare people consider God as their goal. They are more mature. They are discriminative. So what do? They know that liberation is the goal of life. Among the Purusharthas, we have Dharmartha, Kama, Moksha, of which Dharmartha, Kama come at the lower level and Moksha the highest, ultimate. Everyone has to go to achieve this Moksha in the real life. So, and these people consider Moksha as their goal, and God is the one who can grant Moksha, and I consider God as my goal. This is middle level of Bhakti, and such a Bhakta is known as Jignasu Bhakta. The next level of Bhakti towards God is to consider God as myself. Here I have achieved the highest, wherein I know that God is not different from me. And when I get this knowledge, I become ajñāni Bhakta or Advaita Bhakta. I am no different from God. So, for a Manda Bhakta, the God is dear. For a Madhyama Bhakta, God is dearer. For a Uttama Bhakta, the God is the dearest. So this is in general about love and love towards the God. Now let us look at Bhakti or devotion as a course of discipline, which we come across as a spiritual seeker. Now, Bhakti as a course of discipline to achieve the spiritual goal of life, that is the liberation or moksha, is called as Bhakti Yoga. A spiritual seeker comes across these following terms very often: Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, etc. So is Bhakti Yoga a separate discipline like other three yogas? It's important for the seeker to have clarity on these terms. Bhakti Yoga is not a separate fourth course of discipline, but it is a range of discipline encompassing Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, and Jnana Yoga. Now, in all these, Bhakti is common. Bhakti is an atmosphere in which all three disciplines are practiced. Let us look at the Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, Jnana Yoga. How Bhakti comes in these. What is Karma Yoga? Karma Yoga is dedicating all my actions to the Lord and accepting without any resistance the consequences of my action as Ishwararpana and Ishvara Prasada Bhava. Now here Ishvara is central. I offer everything to God and receive everything from God. Hence, it is a form of Bhakti. So this is nothing but Bhakti. The next level is of Upasana Yoga, wherein I meditate upon the Lord for developing my mental discipline and integration to achieve liberation. This is known as the Upasana Yoga. Here, God again is central. I meditate upon the Lord. Hence, this is Bhakti Yoga. Next is the Jnana Yoga, wherein I inquire upon myself into my real nature, which is self-realization of God, and that is God discovery, which has to involve bhakti towards the God. In addition, we have to look at our understanding of God, and the scriptures prepare us progressively regarding our understanding of God depending on the maturity of our mental level. Initially, the scriptures present the God as the creator of the world, which is very, very easy to understand. That is Jagat Karta Ishvara. Here, I look at God as someone who is sitting in the heaven or somewhere higher up in the clouds, and he has produced this world, produced innumerable beings, etc. And he is the one who is controlling everything. That is, as a creator of the world, Jagat Karta. Now, when I look upon God as such, I generally consider him to be like all of us, like a human being, etc. So I give a form to him, and we generally worship God in such a form. And most of us do this, and that is known as the Ekarupa Ishvara. You have a Shiva form, Vishnu form, Devi form, etc. So many innumerable forms of God we can, imagine. The next level of presentation of God is not as a creator of the world, but as the cause of the world. That is Jagat Karana Ishvara, which means God here becomes the world himself. The God manifests himself as the world. And this we call as Vishwarupa Ishvara in Bhagavad Gita. In Rudram, you see Shiva appears as a Vishwarupa Ishvara itself. Now, what is this? Here, the world itself is God. The whole world is God. So we call this as Vishwarupa or Ishvara, or God with many forms. The ultimate understanding of God by the scriptures give is God as a substratum of the world. That is Jagad Adhishtanam, Ishvara. Here, God doesn't become the world, God appears as the world. When God appears as the world, or when he is the substratum of the world, he is the essence of the world, how can he have any kind of forms? So such a Lord will not have any form. He is a Arupa Ishvara, without any attributes, without any Rupa, Rasagandha, etc. Such a God is the ultimate God one has to realize, and this is the highest understanding of the God in our spiritual evolution. Now, we need to be careful that these progressive stages of understanding of the God do not displace the previous ones. If I have been practicing Ekarupa Ishvara and I become, I get knowledge of Arupa Ishvara and I do not dismiss the Ekarupa Ishvara as irrelevant. I still worship the Ekarupa Ishvara or the Vishwarupa Ishvara, but now I have an understanding, a mature understanding, that Arupa Ishvara is the one who is being represented by Ekarupa and Vishwarupa Ishvara. To summarize, Swami Paramarthananda puts it in three folds. That is called as a Bhakti Trayam. That is Bhavana Drishtya Bhakti Trayam, Bhakti based on love of God, which could be Manda, Madhyama, Uttama Bhakti, that is Sakaama, Niṣkāma, and Advaita Bhakti. Sadhana Drishtya Bhakti Trayam. We saw that Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Yoga Rupa Bhakti. These are the three forms of Bhakti, which is from the angle of sadhana. Then we have a Devata Drishtya Bhakti Trayam, which is Ekarupa, Vishwarupa, and Arupa Ishvara Bhakti. With this, we complete this topic of Bhakti. Now we'll move on to the Bhagavad Gita, where this Bhakti has been, especially Sakaama Bhakti and Nishkaama Bhakti has been described in chapter number 9. And I'm going to deal with the verse 20 to 29, which discusses about Sakaama Bhakti and Nishkaama Bhakti. So Krishna starts with Sakaama Bhakti from 20 to 21, and majority of the people, they come under this Sakaama Bhakti. It is the lowest level of devotion which I mentioned earlier. Such a devotee can also be called as Artha Bhakta or Artharthi Bhakta. These people use God to achieve materialistic goals. So God is the means here. They are ignorant about the priorities in life, and their discriminative power is very, very low. So what do they pray for? They pray hard. They work hard and pray for the Swarga Loka. They want all the materialistic worldly benefits to be enjoyed. These heavenly pleasures they are looking for. Hence, they pray to God. Any kind of God who can materialize this, they go to that. So we have so many gods who are being prayed by the people, and depending on their understanding, depending on who gives the more powers, who gives more benefits, they go towards that God. So that is told in this verse number 28. Traividya mam somapaha putapapaha ajñairistva swargatim prarthayante te punyamasadhya surendra lokam ashnanti divyan divideva bhogan. So they have learned all the three Vedas. And remember here, three Vedas means it is not Vedanta, it is Karma Kanda. All the rituals, the complex rituals they perform. And Swamiji says rituals are very elaborate for a Sakaama Bhakta and complex. Hence, any mistake, he has to perform a Prayaschitta Karma. But this Bhakta will do anything to achieve Swarga, and Moksha is not at all in his list of priorities. Such a Bhakta is asking for material benefits. So he will go to heaven and enjoy all the benefits. Now, it appears to be a very good choice because God can grant such thing to a person. Everybody wants it. So he can enjoy the heavenly pleasures for a long, long time. But Krishna warns there is a disadvantage in this kind of a bhakti. And that he tells in verse number 21. Te tam bhuktva svargalokam vishalam kshine punye martyalokam vishanti evam trayi dharmam anuprapannaha gatagatam kama kama labhante. Heaven is the bhoga bhumi. They can only exhaust their punyam. They reach the heaven and they can only enjoy. So whatever punyam they have acquired so far, they can only exhaust. So what happens after exhausting all their punyam? Kshine punye, they will have to come back to bhuloka, martyaloka vishanti. Why they should come back to bhuloka? Because they have exhausted all their punyams, and bhuloka is the only place where they can earn more punyam because it is the karma bhumi. So after getting used to the heaven, how can they come back to bhuloka? It feels miserable. This is symbolic. We are all, experience this. When we get used to the comforts, when those comforts are taken away, we feel very bad, miserable. Same thing is being told symbolically here as the heaven. Again, we want to strive to acquire more punyam and go back to heaven. And this cycle goes on endlessly. So kama kama, gatagatam kama kama labhante. So which god does a Sakaama Bhakta approach to fulfill his material desires? We need to have some clarity on this here. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna represents the infinite God, and all other gods represent the finite gods. These people do not want the infinite, but innumerable finite gods according to their liking. The reason is the infinite is not understood by many people. So moksha or liberation is not their priority. So hence, the finite gods are represented by the materialistic desires which can be materialized by these gods. Hence, Krishna says, these people are ignorant of the fact that all finites are included in the finite, in the infinite. But still, they'll go for the finites and they don't choose the infinite because they don't know what is infinite. Hence, they fall down spiritually. Such bhaktas who are after materialistic desires and worship the God, they fall down spiritually. So that is told in the verse number 23. Aham hi sarva ajñānam bhokta cha prabhureva cha natumam abhijananti tatvena ata chavanti te. Chavanti te means they don't know my higher nature. They fall down. What about the Nishkaama Bhakta? There are very few discriminative, wise people who choose the infinite Krishna as their goal. They are well aware of the ephemerality of the materialistic pleasures and hence choose the permanent, that is moksha, the liberation. Krishna represents moksha in Bhagavad Gita. Generally, it is said that we become what we think of. We are contemplating all the time about something and that we become. So people who want celestial pleasures, they worship these demigods to achieve those pleasures, to get those material benefits. Those who want to attain forefathers, they worship the forefathers. Those who want to cause harm to the others, they worship the ghosts and spirits. So if you look at the God which they worship, you can generally come to know what is their motive. Whereas a Nishkaama Bhakta will worship Krishna because they want the infinite, that is moksha. Generally, you may not know who is a Nishkaama Bhakta. So the person who is worshipping knows what he is worshipping for. That is sankalpa, what he wants. By his sankalpa, he knows whether he is a Sakaama Bhakta or a Nishkaama Bhakta. As I mentioned earlier, Sakaama Bhakta needs to perform elaborate complex rituals, exactly as mentioned in the scriptures, to get the benefits. Or else he incurs sin, for which he again has to perform prayaschitta karma. But they are willing to do anything to achieve their materialistic goals. On the other hand, Nishkāma Bhakta's rituals are very simple and easy. That is told in the verse number 26. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati yad tadaham bhaktya upahritam ashnami prayatatmanaha. Prayatatmanaha, that pure-minded devotee, he can offer anything to me. Patram, leaf, a flower, water, anything he gives me with love, I accept it. That is the Nishkaama Bhakti. And Krishna further says in verse number 27, Yat karoshi, yadashnasi, yad juhoshi, dadasiyat, yat tapasyasi kaunteya, tat kurushva madarpanam. Offer everything to me. Yat karoshi, yat ajñāni, whatever you eat, whatever you perform, whatever you offer, give it to me as Ishwararpana bhava. So what is this? So this is the Nishkaama Bhakti, which is nothing but Karma Yoga, Ishwararpana and Ishvara Prasada bhava. And Nishkaama Bhakti and Karma Yoga both are synonymous. Nishkāma Bhakta also has desires, but they are not materialistic. He desires to get liberation from samsara. Hence, God is the goal. For a Sakaama Bhakta, God is the means. Obviously, the intensity of love of a Nishkāma Bhakta is far superior than the love of a Sakaama Bhakta. He prays God to get liberation, and any devotion to achieve that comes under Nishkāma Bhakti. So, Nishkāma Bhakta will pray for Chitta Shuddhi, Guru Prapti, and Vedanta Shastra Vichara. Does it mean he will ignore his day-to-day worldly needs? No, not at all. But he has no anxiety or fear of the future. Krishna promises that in verse number 22. He says he will take care of such a devotee's needs. Ananyas chintayanto mam. Those devotees who worship me exclusively, that means who worship the infinite, so they're not bothered about the finites. Such exclusive worshippers of me, tesham nitya vihiktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. I look after their material needs, so they need not worry. So what is the advantage? Such a person has no worries or anxiety over his future. He is at peace. Krishna says this in verse number 28. Shubha shubha palaireva mokshase karma bandhanai sannyasa yoga yuktatma vimukto maham upaishyasi. Whatever may be the result of my action, shubha or ashubha, I am not bothered about it. So I am mokshase karma bandhayai. I am liberated from the consequences of my action. Who is this? Such a person is known as sannyasa yoga yuktatma. He has renunciated all the materialistic pleasures, and he is a vimuktaha, liberated person. And such a person alone can reach me or merge with me. That's what Krishna says in 28. Now, does it mean that God is partial towards Nishkāma Bhakta? This is answered in verse number 29. Samoham sarvabhuteshu name dveshyo asti na priyaha ye bhajanti tu mam bhaktya maite teshu chapyaham. Samoham sarvabhuteshu. I am equal to everyone. Just like a sunlight which will illumine everything, dirty water, beautiful pond, etc. But sunlight is not getting affected by any of these. Similarly, God says he doesn't have name dvesho asti na priyava. I do not have any hatred or love towards anyone. He is akarta or abhokta. He is just a mere witness. Those people who worship me exclusively as the goal of life, ye bhajanti tu mam bhaktya maite teshu chapi aham. There is no difference between the seeker and the sought. He is the liberated. He is an Advaita Bhakta, the ultimate Bhakti. One should graduate from Sakaama Bhakti to Nishkāma Bhakti and then eventually to Advaita Bhakti. That is the journey. Thank you. Hari Om.
Thank you, Sanjay. That was a very nice disposition. Let us recall what we have learned. There is 3 ways of worship as we discussed. One is level 1, Manda, and level 2, Madhyama, and level 3, Uttama. So, in the first level, or we can call LKG Bhakti, we say that God is sitting somewhere like Vaikunta, Brahma Loka, etc. and is creating. So, God is separate from me or the world. So, there is world, there is me, and there is God. So, it is a triangular format. So, there can be trouble from any side. So, God comes, creates, and he disappears. So, when I call him, he comes. That is the level 1. So, and level 2, that is Madhyama, he is both the creator and the intelligence cause behind the creation. That means if he is behind everything, like how clay and pot, if wherever there is pot, there is clay, it is assumed. Similarly, if there is, we are seeing creation everywhere, that means God as a creator is from him, he is the material cause of everything. So he should be everywhere. Then at the higher level or the highest level is neither the creator or the created or the creation, is everything. He is the transcending everything. What you are seeing is nothing but God himself. Maybe with Nama Rupa, he is being described in many things. So if he is everywhere, he should be within me also. That is the third or the highest level. Then extrapolating the same thing, in the first level, we think God is somewhere. So somebody has studied God and he has told, oh, I have seen God. So I learn from him. That is the paroksha. So somebody says God has 4 hands. I believe that. And somebody says God is formless. I believe that. But I personally don't know. So it's different. Then at the second level, it is pratyaksha or anubhava. So I transcend this triangular format and I feel the God, or I see the God in many darshanams, like how in bhakti forms we see. So whatever the experience which has been described, like how I have seen Taj Mahal, I have seen Kailas, Parvat, etc. This is one. And at the highest level, there is a subtle difference between level 2 and level 3, which we have to understand. That is aporoksha. That is, if there is no difference between me and the knowledge. I am in spirituality, you know something means you are being. There's no way it's like I'm lecturing about Satyam and I speak untruth. It is not like that. If you say I know Satyam, that means you are embodiment of Satya and you speak truth only. This is the how in spirituality it is aparoksha which it all matters. Then in the first level, the God is a mean, is a tool, and world is a goal. I want some riches and other things, and that's why I pray to God. So, and in the next level, we realize that all this is because of God. So once we have God himself as a goal, all others can be inferior. That is how we move up and graduate. And at the end, we understand that neither God is the goal nor the means, but God is everything. He is the Siddha. And in Manda level, it is rooted in body-mind complex. As I told, it is a triangular format. Whereas in level 2, it is a stepping stone. We are moving out, we are unshackling from this word, body-mind complex, and we move up towards. And ultimately, it is a level 3, that is, we realize it is the moksha, or we become one, we become one. We transcend the time and the form, and the real I, we realize as everywhere and is nowhere. So there is no question of me dying and reborn. So let us learn some of the important words which we learned. Yogakshema Vahamya. That means I take care of Yogakshema of all the people. Which people? He is taking care of all the people, but others people who are stuck in the triangular format don't realize that. They think they are doing everything and they are taking, God is supporting them. This is how they believe. Whereas once we move to the Nishkaama karma or Nishkaama Bhakti, we realize that all is happening because of the God and we are just the instrument. I met one of the gurus or acharya. He is even at the age of 70 years. He is running a Sanskrit class and regular school for the orphans and other things. I said, at this age, how you can manage? Don't you find it difficult? He told, I don't do anything. It just happens. It is not in my things. I realize that it just keeps on happening. So This is where the people at the Nishkaama Bhakti remain. So Ananya, as before defined, that means there is no other, there is nothing other than God to speak, God to seek. So the love for the oneself is superior to everything. The wife loves husband the most, the son loves the father the most. Ultimately, everybody loves himself the most. Atmanayastu kamana. So chintayam mam means here always dwelling, just like how, you know, day and night a mother is always thinking of its baby, even though she is at work and doing many other things. Similarly, in the background, like tambura shruti, always this God should be behind. These are Nishkama Bhaktis. Paryupasate. All are worship to the God. There's nothing else to do. They don't seek anything. Chintaya means it is mumukshu or jignasu. So you give up what does not belong to me. That means all bondages born out of ajñāna, ahankara, I give up. Like a man waking up from a bad dream, like a mirage in the desert, like a man groping in the dark looking for the sun, like a man who's drowned, earning for air. We should realize that this world as we see and the samsara as we know is not the real thing, and we should seek moksha. For that person alone, Lord reveals himself. And he is the ultimate security. That means he doesn't come and protect with Gadadari and all. He has already told the means through scriptures, dharma, and sanatana dharma, like love, compassion, truth, and ahimsa. And of course, through the Guru, he reveals all these things. So, Lord does not give security, Lord himself is the ultimate security. And another beautiful verse is Patram Pushpam Palam. With devotion, even if he offers me a leaf, flower, etc., I accept it. If you think carefully, are we capable of even manufacturing one leaf? With all the might of the supercomputers, etc., can we manufacture one leaf without any means, out of nowhere? It is impossible. Many says, I'm a big businessman, Malya has donated, diamond to Tirupati Timmappa, etc. Can he manufacture diamond? It is not possible. We are just taking the God, stealing it and giving to him. So it doesn't matter whether you give a leaf, whether you give a flower, or you give a diamond. It is all same. He says, I think everything is same to me. So what is one which really belongs to me, to this body-mind complex? This false ego called I, that I am the doer. I have done this, I have achieved this. This, if we offer to the Lord, to the lotus feet of the Lord, this false ego, if we give it up, then there will be no difference between God and us. And there is no difference between God's will and our will. Hosho simply but very hard-hittingly says, any other bhakti other than asking for God is trading. You are telling the God, oh, give me the riches and get out of my life. I'll take care. I know how to do it. This is what you ultimately mean if you analyze their life. So he says, prayer should be an expression of gratitude, not some, checklist of things to get it from God. God knows what to give, what not to give, when to give. So as Swami Dayananda says, this human life itself, whether you are born like a Dhritarashtra blind or anybody else, or Karna like, unfortunate, childhood he had, it is just because you are born as a human being and you are capable of pursuing dharma, artha, kama, moksha itself is a gratitude. There is, you should not ask for anything else. This humility is the opening gateway for the knowledge. Thank you very much. Now, let us do quiz to see what we have learned. Panaga, can you answer this?
Yes,
Bhakti,
sir.
as a course of discipline is called Bhakti Marga, Ekarupa Ishvara Bhakti, Bhakti Yoga, Vishwarupa Ishvara Bhakti.
The answer is C, Bhakti Yoga.
Yeah, Bhakti Yoga it is called. Next, is Bhakti a separate discipline?
No, sir.
Yeah, Bhakti is an integral part, as Dr. Sanjay has very nicely explained, is an integral part of all the yogas which we know, karma, upasana, or jnana yoga. This is a devotion. It is the way how we do all these things. How is bhakti a part of all the three yogas?
In Karma
Yeah.
Yoga, yeah.
Yeah, please read. Yeah.
The bhavana of Ishvara Arpana and Prasada Buddhi is Bhakti Yoga.
Yeah.
In Upasana Yoga, the Manasa Puja and Japa takes place in the atmosphere of Bhakti. Finally, Gnana Yoga involves Bhakti as a prayer before and after Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam.
Yeah. This is very important. Our whole spiritual life should be soaked in bhakti. There is no question of arrogance at any stage. There's a difference between arrogance, confidence. So we should always be humble but confidence. This is the hallmark of a spiritual person. Now, a bhakti utilized for material end is called?
Sakaama Bhakti.
Correct. Spiritual end?
Nishkaama Bhakti.
Yeah. Sakaama Bhakti can be differentiated from Nishkaama Bhakti by his? This is a very good question.
By his want?
Yeah. Or Sankalpa. When you're doing a prayer, you always do some Sankalpa. So what is that Sankalpa? That determines what kind of Bhakti is in. So, chapter 9 to 29 deals with Sakaama Bhakti and Nishkāma Bhakti as we have learned. Next, what is the meaning of Trividya in this verse?
One who knows all the three Vidyas.
Yeah, like we call no Tripati, Trivedi, etc. Putta Papa?
I don't know.
Okay. Putta Papa is free from all sins. Papa we know, as a sin. Putta Papa means free from all sins. And Surendra Loka?
In Indra Loka.
Yeah, it is similar to, Deva Loka, one of the lokas where in Divi.
Is heaven?
Yeah, Divi. Yeah. So will one remain in Swargaloka always?
No, one will remain in Swargaloka only until our punya lasts. After we have to come back to Bhuloka.
Yeah. So Kshine Punya Martya Loka. That means once there is exhaustion of punya, one returns to the loka and takes the janma as the fructified part of that karma. Yes. So Ananya Janaha refers to what bhakta it is?
Nishkama Bhakta.
Correct. Jignasu, as I have told, it is. Jignasu Bhakta is which type of bhakta in this three? Madhyama, Uttama, and Adhama.
He is the Madhyama Bhakta.
Correct. Jignasu Bhakta is Madhyama. Uttama is Jnani. Ananyaha means?
Without any other goal occupying the mind.
Correct. It's single pointedness. Here, yoga has a different meaning. What does it mean here?
It is acquiring what is needed.
Yeah. Aprapsya prapti. This is what is in this verse. Yoga kshema vahamyam means I will take care. Means what?
It means surrendering to God. We should do our duties and God will provide what is appropriate.
Correct. It does not mean that we have to give up Gruhastha or whatever ashrama we are in and take up to sannyasa and things like that. And also it doesn't mean that we have to pray and God will provide us all the desires. I want Benz car, I want like that, nothing like that. It means we should surrender and do what is our duties and have spirituality in the mind. Anya Devata Bhakta refers to which bhakti?
The Sakaama Bhakta.
Yeah. So, in the concept of Bhagavad Gita, here Lord takes the form of infinite Brahman. So, worship of any Ishta Devata is directed ultimately to whom?
To Lord Krishna only.
Correct. So he is the ultimate source, like how a river or a water is the ultimate source of all the water things, a lake or anything. He is the ultimate source. So he is the ultimate blessing we invoke for. And extrapolating the same thing, when one seeks moksha, the rituals should be extensive, expensive, requires knowledge of scriptures, requires Nishkaama Bhakti.
It only requires Nishkaama Bhakti.
Correct. It only requires Nishkaama Bhakti. Innumerable examples from Kanakadasa and so many other people, example Meera, etc. are there. We don't need any complicated things, or we don't have to do extra, rituals, etc. While worshipping, what is true in this?
It is D, with devotion. Even if a leaf, flower, fruit, or water is offered to the Lord, he will gladly accept.
Correct. So, as I told, Patram Palam Pushpam, as Dr. Sanjay also has beautifully explained, everything belongs to God. So there is no real thing in saying that we are giving expensive things. So when you are offering to the Lord, whatever is given in pure mind becomes the offering to the Lord. And here Lord says, in this manner you will transcend Papa Punya and attains me. What is the means? Is it Karma Yoga? Is it Upasana or anything? Nishkaama Bhakti or through Upasana?
No, it is still Nishkaama Bhakti only.
Yeah. Nishkaama Bhakti is the key for all the things to go to the next level in spirituality. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Kiran sir, for a wonderful quiz. Your insightful introduction and discussion on today's topic helped us understand it in great detail. Thank you very much, Dr. Sanjay sir, for an excellent explanation of these lovely and popular verses. Thank you, Neeta ma'am, for the beautiful shloka time. And thank you, friends, for your participation and valuable feedback. We will log in again for our verse-by-verse Bhagavad Gita session, number 130, on 13th January to continue our study of Mundakopanishad. Please log in at 6:45 p.m. sharp on Friday. Before concluding, I wish to thank all those who have sent their Guru Dakshina. May I request you to kindly fill the Google form to enable us to generate these receipts. Thank you very much. We conclude with our shloka. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.